Yeah, now it has started. Now you can start. Okay.
Okay, sorry, I'll go over again.
Yeah, go over it again.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Fatma, for joining us. And thank you to the participants for joining the session today. Fatma is a project engineer at Shell. She will be talking about LinkedIn and how you can use the platform strategically to network with people and find the right opportunities. Fatma, you can start.
Assalamu alaikum and evening, everyone. Thank you, Fiza, for the introduction. So, just a quick recap. As Fiza already mentioned, I am currently working in Wafi Energy, which was previously Shell, as a project engineer in the downstream fuel supply chain. I joined 3 years ago as a management trainee, and before that, I graduated from NUST with a major in electrical engineering. So before we get started, I'd just like to do a quick check-in with everyone who's joined in. If you could just drop in the chat, just introduce yourselves, which year you're in, what's your major of study, and I want to know what is the one thing that has confused you the most about LinkedIn or that you'd really like to learn and take away from this session so that I have an idea of which parts to be stressing while we navigate through it. So, before we begin, I'd like to give you all just a quick idea of the agenda. We're going to be starting with what's the importance of maintaining a LinkedIn profile in today's day and age? How does it help you stand out from other applicants in the process? And most importantly, I will be spending a good chunk, which is 30 minutes, on the very bare basics of how do you really define and build a strong profile. And then we'll move from there as to how, once you have a polished LinkedIn profile in place, how you can use it to leverage the opportunities that LinkedIn offers you for networking, for searching for better jobs, and for generally building an online portfolio that you can utilize to showcase your best self. Perfect. So let's start off from there. As of this year, there are 1.1 billion active users on LinkedIn. So that is a lot of competition to compete against. And how do you differentiate yourself and how do you tell your story using a platform like that? So before we get into it, it is really, really important to know why you require having a LinkedIn profile, right? So it is essentially what you would call your digital twin in the recruitment world. Oftentimes, your LinkedIn profile should be there in the very headline of your resume or CV while you're applying to jobs, and recruiters will be looking at it. Most of the times these days, a majority of job postings are actually posted directly to LinkedIn as well as the recruitment site. And a majority of recruiters do hire directly using LinkedIn. So your profile on there is going to be a complete reflection of who you are as a candidate. And that can really help set you apart from the other people who are applying or the other people who are generally building up their profiles. So it translates into your professional identity being digitized. We will talk a bit later in the session about how you can actually build your digital professional identity, which we will call LinkedIn branding, because it's very, very important to not view this as sort of a static representation of yourself, which is what a resume is. This is something that's dynamic. This is something that grows with you and you can keep changing and use it as a way to really highlight yourself in a very crowded and increasingly competitive market. It offers you a platform to showcase all of your best achievements and even more so put forward your most authentic self depending on how much you're willing to put into your portrayal, how much you share. So this really stands as sort of like your online portfolio, which you can use to demonstrate all aspects of your currently, as most of your students, your undergraduate journey, your postgraduate journey, and then your journey as a professional in the industry. One of the core things really that LinkedIn is there for is also building a connected community with like-minded professionals. So a lot of people, the average LinkedIn user already has 1,300 connections in their network, but it's not just about the quantity of those connections that you want to be building. It's really going to be about the quality of those connections. How do you maintain them? How do you understand to use your network? How do you leverage that to get opportunities for yourself, to get opportunities to build other people up, learn about what's going on in your relevant industries, learn about the latest practices, upcoming events, and really get to boost your profile. And lastly, since this is going to be a very student focused sessions, one of the key aspects of maintaining an updated and strong LinkedIn profile is that you will get to shape your career narrative before you enter the professional industry. So even though you may not have a professional experience when you're graduating, you will already have built an identity that really gives recruiters a concrete and holistic picture of who you are as an individual and what kind of skills and personality and value addition you'll be bringing if someone's looking to add you in as a part of their teams. So we'll be starting from there. A couple of very basic points coming up, but these are, the building blocks that help you get the most out of this platform. So, number one, very basic. A lot of people, when they start off with LinkedIn, they're going to have a non customized URL, which is auto generated. One of the tips that I'd really give most candidates, because I've seen this when we have applicants coming in not properly done on their resumes, is do customize your LinkedIn URL so that it's easily traceable. And also, this helps when it comes to your name showing up even in search engines and recruiter searches as well. So you want to ensure that you've covered this very basic step, but very important to do. Next, I'm going to start with what are the very first blocks that someone sees in your LinkedIn profile. That is your photo, your header, and your headline. Now, I know this may seem pretty basic and you might wonder why we're spending time here, but again, your LinkedIn profile picture and your accompanying headline are the first impression that anyone has of you on that platform when they're looking at you. And they should be something that really brings that person to want to check that profile. So whenever you're putting up a picture, just make sure it's not something that doesn't have you in focus. Ensure that you're clearly pictured, you have a warm and approachable image that you're showing up. You don't need to be overly dressy or overly formal in your LinkedIn profile pictures. Go for something you imagine yourself wearing and showing up at work, and just maintain a degree of professionality in there. Next, the LinkedIn headline. So, the LinkedIn headline, I want you to think of this as essentially your tagline. This is what makes or breaks whether someone is going to bother viewing your profile or not. So, a lot of the times people will only put in that. Especially at the undergraduate stage or student stage, they'll put in, for example, management sciences undergraduate at LUMS, right? So there are going to be 1,000 other such students. It's about how you're able to best portray yourself in that moment. So I would really suggest that when you're coming up with your headline, take a review at what kind of experiences that you have. Now, I understand that most of you are students and you may not have professional experiences, especially if you're in your first or second year and you haven't done an internship. So, a quick trick to do that is take a look at what kind of skills, either technical or soft. By technical, I mean what are the technical skills required for your industry. Normally, in the case, the example that I've shown you, that's a software engineer. But if you're a marketing major or if you're a finance major, you are aware of what are the core technical competencies that people are looking for in those roles. So try to go with what kind of previous experience you have. Try to indicate what it is that you're aiming for, especially since you will be graduating and you will be seeking roles. So you can put that right there, that this is what I'm seeking, and add in a kind of storyline that builds up from that. So a very easy and something that can be applied to most of the people is to utilize the format that I'm displaying, that you can highlight what's your current role, whether it's a student, what are you skilled in. Ensure that you're adding in keywords over here as well. So, quick point about industry keywords. I would recommend that whenever you are going to search for roles, understand what are the top three kind of roles you're going for. Go and look at hirings that people have posted and look exactly at what kind of particular core key skills that recruiters are looking for. And if you feel that you are competent enough to have those particular skills, do highlight them right there in your headline. and try to show what helps set you apart as an individual in your headline as well. So, normally, a good idea is to kind of present your story there. So, for example, a lot of people, if you are a digital marketeer, in the last phrase, you could input that I am helping brands define their digital identity, right? So that's just an example for what you could input here. So I've listed a couple of examples here for people that might be relevant to you. I want to take a quick pause over here and check in with you guys. Normally, when it comes to setting your headlines, what do you struggle with the most? Because this is essentially your this is what makes your profile click worthy or attention grabbing. So if I could just have in the chat, if anyone wants to share what kind of challenges they've faced here or any confusions they have, and I'll address that later in the Q&A stage, because what's the perfect headline? Okay, there is no one particular formula for this. As you can see, I've displayed a couple of different examples. What you want to do here is align your headline with your current role, with your current stage in life. I would generally not recommend inputting, for example, um, just your degree over there as the very first step. So you can see in the first example, it's economics undergraduate with a passion for data-driven policy. So this is for someone who might not have professional experience yet. They can lead with that. But if you've done an internship, if you have been freelancing, I would really recommend you lead with experience, your skill set, and then lastly, what you're seeking to do or what you are doing, right? So, for example, aspiring data scientist skilled in these three core competencies, and I'm passionate about using AI for real world problem solving in energy and finance. So, again, just understand what's your current stage in life. Do you have relevant technical core key skills and competencies to highlight? And what is your one liner for what you want to do or what you already do in terms of providing value? Asif, your question again, I will get to in the Q&A stage, because we'll just cover these building blocks first and then get to there. Yes. So again, one thing I would stress throughout this entire thing is when you are making your LinkedIn profile, be authentic and do a truthful evaluation of your skills. Do not over exaggerate. You can always find the perfect balance to showcase your competency in that area without over exaggerating it, right? So you don't have to say, for example, if you only know 5 skills, you don't have to state that you're an expert in them. You can simply just put in skilled in dash, and that's, we'll come to that later. You have the skills and core key competency sections within your LinkedIn profile where you can further elaborate on those areas. So just stick to a very easy to do formula. Yes, the general pattern I've already shared in this slide. Start with your current role or your most recent experience, highlight your key skills, and then highlight what it is that you do or that you want to do. So these 3 things really help give a very holistic approach and overview of your profile, which then allows you to become a more relevant search result for your recruiters. Do, most importantly, I would stress, link your industry relevant keywords, because if you don't have those in your headlines, a lot of the times when recruiters are searching up or reviewing candidates, if it's not in your headline, then it's not the strongest profile to go for. Right. So this is just a generic example right now of what you see when you land on someone's LinkedIn page. These would be the first 3 things. Again, your photo should be a clear, realistic depiction of who you are. You have your headline that tells your key skills, your storyline summarized in one go. Yes, so for fresh graduates, again, I would really recommend, if you have an internship experience or some kind of professional experience, put that as the first point. Put your core key skills as the second point. And in the last point, put in your story tagline of what you do. Like, for example, I am helping deliver quality education to underprivileged kids, something like that. And that can be your value add or your storyline tag. Another point I put up here is that do add in your website link, because that is the first thing that is also visible. So what I mean by website links are, um, on LinkedIn, yes, you do get to make a digital portfolio. But again, if you are in a particular industry, that requires you having your technical digital portfolio. And what I mean by that, for example, if you're in software, you must have a GitHub profile. If you're in digital design, you'd have a Behance portfolio. Or if you're like in journalism, you'd have maybe a WordPress blog or a blogging site. So ensure that you have your digital portfolio linked in your profile summary as well. So again, when someone comes and visits your profile, it's one of the first things that they can see, and they can go further, browse through your work on that site. Right. Now, the most important portion of your LinkedIn is going to be your professional summary. So the professional summary section actually allows you to have 2000 words, but especially I would recommend you stick to a shorter format, which is 250 to 300 words. And most importantly here, I would really recommend that you build a cohesive storyline. So for, again, since most of you are going to be graduates, I would recommend you start with your most recent professional working or freelancing or even volunteer experiences, and then you go towards your education, your technical skill set, and you end with what it is that you're seeking to do, and do add in a bit of personality there. So, see, your LinkedIn summary is basically supposed to be a snapshot of your professional identity, but also showcase your personality. So, you should keep it concise. Once you progress through your professional journey, obviously, there will be a lot more to highlight, and you can utilize the full 2000 word count. But right now, especially, you want people to get a sense of who you are as quickly as possible. So don't make it too long. Generally 300 words is a good enough amount, and considering people's attention span, they're not going to be reading more than that. So you want to not be humble in this section. Go ahead and highlight all of the best work that you've done, highlight your technical and soft skills, and you want to always link those. So if you say, for example, I am an experienced project manager who has led dash 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 portfolio, and I am skilled in these, and this is how I've delivered these results over the past year, which have had this impact. So the typical routine star format that you will hear about when it comes to your resumes, when it comes to structuring any kind of information that you really have, again, would be very, very applicable in your summary. So, one of the things that your writing reflects here is also your personality. So, most people do tend to either be very, very technical or very, very mechanical sounding. They'll write in the third person tense, which I would not recommend anymore, because LinkedIn has also become a little bit informal. So, go ahead and feel comfortable referring using the first person reference, and really showcase your authentic personality there. If you're someone who is, for example, a bit more on the friendly and energetic side, let that show up in the way you're communicating here. General structure formats, I'd say, make a lot of bullet points. So if you have like a summary of your best results or your best projects, put that there. And a couple of other points I put in here when it comes to your professional summary. Link it to the kind of industry that you're looking to go for. Again, it matters on tone. So, for example, if you are someone who is looking to go for MNCs or a very well established corporate background, or if you're looking to go towards the government sector, you go through again keywords that are used in that industry, incorporate that, but also match your tone. So, what I mean by matching your tone is, when you're applying to a corporate job, look at what kind of personalities are most successful in those areas and kind of match your tone. So, you can keep your professional summary a bit more formal. If you're someone who's applying to, say, a lot of startups or venture techs, then you want to show that energy, that enthusiasm, that ability to lead and innovate in the tone that you're writing your professional summary in. So I'd really recommend understand what is the general tone of the industry that you want to go for, and then match your professional summary to that, while also letting your personality be visible through the way that you're writing. And one point I will re-stress throughout the entirety of this presentation is do not rely too much on ChatGPT for writing this up for you, because with all of the AI generated content out there, it is very easy for someone to be able to identify whether you wrote it yourself and whether this is your voice that you're using, or if you've had AI write it for you. And when it comes to your professional summary, I really make you ask yourself the question that if I am not able to use my voice to show why I matter, then why would somebody else consider me, right? So you do want to put in a lot of thought and energy into structuring this yourself. Couple of key tips here. Again, you want your profile to be visible when a recruiter is searching or when anyone else is searching up with that relevant industry. So do add in keywords over there that helps push your profile to the top in search results, but do not overdo it. You don't want to sound like you're throwing in a whole lot of jargon. Just keep it realistic and keep it again to what you've done. Again, you want to end off your professional summary with a call to action. What do I mean by a call to action? You want to give people a way to contact you. You can input your email, you can input your phone number if you have one that you feel comfortable sharing, but let people know where they can reach out to you. So if it's a recruiter, or maybe it's, for example, another professional looking to connect, or a student looking to connect, or someone who wants to uh, have a conversation with you regarding an experience that they find interesting, just put a way for them to be able to contact you. A lot of people do miss out on this. So do add this in there, makes it far easier for people to connect with you. And right below your professional summary is going to be a section which is called the featured section. This is where you want to pin your best posts and achievements to make it more visual and engaging. So the professional summary is going to be a whole block of text. Again, just to be able to retain people's attention better, do make use of the featured section right below that. That's where you can pin your best posts. So it adds a bit of visual imagery to just break that block of text. So I'm sharing an example of a professional summary with you over here. This is a relatively more detailed professional summary because this is from someone with 5 years of work experience. And this is something you can modify to fit your journey as a student as well. In the first paragraph, start off with your degree, start off with what you've learned there and what it is shaping your career journey to be. So just a quick overview of what you're studying, what kind of skills it's imparted to you, and what kind of direction you want to take at the start of your career. Then generally, second, I'd recommend, since most of you would be students, go with your internship experiences or freelancing experiences, or even the volunteer work experience that you've had working in your college societies and other events if you've arranged those. And again, one of the sections, making use of bullet points, highlight whatever key achievements or milestones you've had in your student journey. You can make this as dynamic as possible. You can include professional achievements, you can include personal achievements. By personal achievements, I mean if you've been volunteering, if you've done social work, all of that goes in here because that again shows people who you are in a complete sense. When you're making your resume, you're always tailoring your resume to a particular job, to a particular role in a particular company. So it doesn't capture the whole picture of who you are beyond just those technical competencies. So your summary will be some place where you can give people an essence of your profile as a professional as well as individual. So go ahead and do highlight any personal hobbies you have here, how you like to spend your time, because again, that allows for a point of connection between someone who's viewing your profile and you if they find a commonality. Do end with what your purpose is. So by purpose over here, again, I mean it is something that is beyond a role. A purpose is the overarching theme that you want your career to have, or a kind of a mission statement for yourself, right? So, what is it that you want to achieve through your career. And that could be, for example, as the person here has highlighted, that they have three things that they're aiming to do. One they've chosen as a global SDG issue. Second one they've chosen as a technical issue. And the third one is something that is a personal target of theirs that they have been working towards. Right. So next up comes your experience session. The experience section of LinkedIn is where you will chronologically list all of your professional experiences. Okay. Again, being a student, you may not have held a job or you may not have even had an internship. So while you're still a fresh graduate, you can go ahead and put in volunteer work. And by volunteer work, I'm specifically referring to experiences you have working in society. So, for example, if you were part of, let's say, LCG, right? That is volunteer work, but that is non-professional work experience that you do have. So you can input the volunteer work you've been doing in your experience section as a student. I would recommend once you have transitioned 1 or 2 years into the industry to move that into the volunteer section that is also available at the bottom, and then add in your professional experiences here. But again, as a student, to build up your profile, go ahead and put in the extracurricular work that you've been doing just to showcase all of the things that you've had. Again, when it comes to listing your experience, you want to start with what role you've had, what organization you were working for, the duration that you worked for it, and a concise description of what it is that you did in that role. Highlight your key achievements, use the star format again. For those of you who may not be aware, the star format is formatting your sentence structure using the situation that you were in, a brief description of that, the task or the challenge that you had to solve in it, what was your approach to solving that, and finally, what was the result. One other step I'd ask you to add in these, which really helps boost it, is the impact. So the result was the end goal of solving that task, but you can show what kind of long-term impact you've had as well. So for example, if you were working as a content strategist or a social media marketing strategist, you can input about a branding campaign that you did, but also show the impact of how the work you did for that particular branding campaign, how far wide the result and outreach of it was, and how it changed and translated into the further work that you did for that organization or in your personal life. And then lastly, you want to wrap this up with relevant skills. Again, for each experience, I would recommend not listing more than 5 key skills. So just understand which ones are the right fit for the kind of roles that you're looking for, which ones are the most relevant, and highlight those when you're listing that particular experience. Skills and endorsements. So again, your LinkedIn profile will allow you to summarize all of the technical skills that you have. One of the ways to add credibility to that is to have people endorse your skills. So you can have connections endorse to do financial analysis, have someone endorse that. But there's a difference between, again, quality and quantity. What you want is to have people who themselves are proficient be the ones endorsing you, so that your endorsement doesn't just sound like, okay, halki punki hawa mein baatein. Anyone can list a number of skills and have their friends endorse it. But what you really want to do is have people you've worked with and who they themselves are proficient in those areas be the ones endorsing you, and do the same likewise for them. Keep reordering your skills as you progress through your journey. Again, depending on what stage you're in, what kind of role you're looking for, and what are your key strengths at that point, you want to be highlighting them in those order. And as you keep gaining more skills, do make sure that you keep updating this section relevantly as well. The last one, which is very useful, especially for the stage that you're in right now, will be your education and certifications. So within the education section, you can add in the details of your major and your study, but go ahead and do add in a slight academic summary here as well, which you may not be able to go into as you don't want to go into complete academic details in the professional summary. So this section is where you can highlight the more academic side. If you are someone who, for example, has been doing research work, if you have been published in journals, if you've won any kind of honors, Dean's Merit List, all of that stuff, do ensure you highlight that here, right? If you've done a thesis project that was featured somewhere, if you won an award, do not be shy. This is the place where you can show off and you should be showing off. So put all of it there. And again, I'd recommend make it interactive. So if your articles have been published, if you've been featured in a magazine, or if you've been featured in an online publication, you can add in all of the URLs and links over there. And you can even input details of projects or important presentations that you've worked on, and you can share that material in this section as well. One thing I would encourage you to be careful about, however, is that make sure whatever kind of project materials or presentations, if you're choosing to put them up here, those you are comfortable with sharing, because being in Pakistan, there's really no check on plagiarism. So just verify the content that you're sharing before you're putting it up here. Lastly, recommendations. Okay, recommendations is very, very important. And I've seen a lot of students not understand what kind of recommendation holds weight and what doesn't. So, a recommendation from my friend, how does that help me? It doesn't. When you are getting a recommendation, make sure it's from someone who has worked with you, who has managed you, and who themselves are at somewhat of a professional standing, or they've been in with you. For example, maybe you both worked in the same society, maybe you both worked on the same project. So you don't want a recommendation to be generic that, oh, I've worked with her for this year, she's a great person, or he's a great leader, but there's no concrete evidence to it. So for example, if you worked on a project with someone, you can have them endorse specifically the key skills you had in that project, endorse your approach to how you worked on that project, and then how you were as a teammate. So ensure your recommendation isn't something about how nice you were to work with, or, oh, had a great time working with this person, because you do see a lot of these, they don't add weight to your profile. What you want is a very structured way of doing it. What was that person's relation to you? How long did the two of you work together? What did the two of you work together on? What were the key skills that you displayed? What were the best behaviors that you displayed? And what you can also have that person endorse, what are your career prospects. So, for example, that person should write in their recommendation that they are a very strong business analyst, or they're very skilled in, for example, Power BI or Python or whatever. So, also have them endorse that. Another thing you want to do is seek at least 2 to 3 recommendations on your profile while starting out. Get a different range of perspectives. You could have some from your seniors, you could have some from someone who's managed you in your internship, you could have one from a professor who's taught you, or you could have one from, for example, your thesis mate, or anyone you've worked on a project with, and ensure that it covers a lot of various aspects that I highlighted. So I'll take a quick pause here for some questions that we can answer while we're still in the profile stage. Are there any particular other areas of building the LinkedIn profile itself that you'd like to get to know more about? And then we can move on to how to use LinkedIn for personal branding, as we've got 20 minutes left for that.
Everyone, you can put in your questions in the chat box and Fatma can answer from there.
Okay, yes, you should set in your link. So Amina has asked if it's necessary to set up your LinkedIn as a first year or a freshman. I would say start as early as possible. You can even set this up in your O&A levels. Why? Because the sooner you start, the longer you have to build your profile, right? So if you are in your first year, you can go ahead, set up the basics, input that you're a first year student, what are you studying, and what are you seeking to do. And the reason this is important, as I'll explain later, is that LinkedIn is a place where you can find a lot of opportunities to intern, you can find a lot of opportunities to get work experience. So, this will allow you to connect with more people earlier on as well. And it's also a great learning platform. You will get to see industry leaders, you will get to you can connect directly with people, you can ask them questions, you can get to know a lot. And people on LinkedIn, generally providing on how you approach them, are very open to answering any questions for aspiring young professionals. So do go ahead and start as early as possible. Okay, if someone has several achievements and updates to share, you'll just have to take out a little bit of time, sit down, start putting in the most important ones first, and then you can keep adding and updating your profile as you need to. But yeah, it just takes a little bit of time. Maybe sit down on the weekend, block 30 minutes, and go through which additions you want to make. I want to increase my LinkedIn followers. I post daily, but only 350 impressions. Okay, this I'll get to later because we're going to talk particularly about how to leverage this as possible, covering number of connections. Some have less, some too many. Yes, we'll get to that. I'm finding difficulty aligning my profile with my profession. So again, would recommend you take a look at what goes on in the industry. So open up LinkedIn, go to just start searching through profiles of people who are doing the roles that you want to do, and take a look at how they've structured their profile. What do they write in their professional summary? How do they present themselves? What are they posting about? What's their content like? And that can give you a good idea of how to build your own profile. Again, in your industry as well, take a look at what kind of people work in that industry. What is the business environment of that industry? Is it research based? Is it innovation based? Is it still a very formalized sector? Is it more towards having younger, fresher, vibrant energy? And you can just align the tone and listings and all of the data you input into your profile with that. I have switched from clinical role to healthcare. Okay, so what you want to do is highlight that you're an aspiring healthcare professional, or you can just input what it is that you want to do. When it comes to your experiences, you can go ahead and input all of the clinical experiences that you've had, because again, that shows the past history that you have. You shouldn't be disregarding that just because you've switched careers. But what will be important for you is to establish a bridge between those. So, what were the learnings and what were the skills you got through your clinical experience, and how do those help you become better at healthcare management? It's a very obvious tie. You can just read up about this. So it's about understanding what were your transferable skills. And you can also build a very good story that it was the clinical experience that taught you or really activated your passion towards healthcare management. That is something you can show both in the headline as well as your professional summary. How can I make an appealing LinkedIn profile while I have a career and education gap? Again, start with posting. You can establish yourself as a thought leader in the industry. That will take a long time. You'll need to be very rigorous with posting. But with a career and education gap, I would recommend you maybe understand how to present that story. A lot of people even frame their career and education gaps used for their personal life as a way to showcase, okay, I took some time off to focus on other things, but this is what I was doing during that time. So you can also highlight that in your professional summary. Premium update, I will answer that at the end. Are we supposed to add all of our experiences, whether they are relevant or not? Yes, that's the advantage of LinkedIn. So versus a resume where you only have one page to highlight everything, LinkedIn allows you to add in as much as you want. So you can go ahead and add in experiences that you think are not directly tied, but it's about how you write that down. You can showcase how your past experiences tie into your current career path. Depends again on how well you're able to set up that story. What should we include in the cover image? The cover image can be The cover image is something, again, I would really recommend take a look at what's a good fit for the kind of company or industry that you want to join in. So the cover image can actually be a summary of who you are and what you do. Like the example I showed you in, it just shows Googler, YouTuber, and key skills. Or you can add in maybe a generic background image as well, which can just hang in there. But I would really recommend make use of the cover image, make it a visual storytelling. Um, Engineering achievements are internal. Again, use the star format. You can very easily show what kind of situation you were in, what was the task, in this case, improving uptime, right? Explain why you needed to improve it, explain how you improved it, use metrics, always input numbers, percentages, and the impact derived from that. And that using that star format will automatically convert I did this into I had this challenge. This is how I approached it. This is how I solved it. And it resulted in XYZ. So it's really about how you utilize storytelling best to showcase your achievements. Right. So when we talk about personal branding, especially using LinkedIn, what we mean is how do you present yourself to the world, right? So this is really about building your impression, building your perception towards other people. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, how do I want to be viewed as a professional? Again, this applies to everything. What do you want people to know about you? What do you want recruiters to know about you? What are your key skills that you want to highlight? And what kind of personality do you want to showcase? So just you will take some time to figure that out once you start building your profile, and you'll keep reiterating, but do keep asking yourself that what kind of image is it that I really want to present. That is essentially your personal brand, and your personal brand is a mix of your professional identity, including your technical skill set, your soft skill set, your personal life, your hobbies, your interests, and then also how do you interact with other people? What kind of relationships do you maintain? How do you build a community? All of that ties into what kind of individual people will perceive you to be. So that's why when you're using your LinkedIn, you don't need to highlight just your credentials. Do input what are your values, right? By values, I mean, if we're talking about, say, fintech. So if you're building an app which allows people to take microloans, you could get into the technical aspects of that, or you could get into the why behind it, right? So, why do I want to solve this particular problem? What drives it? Was it something you experienced? Maybe was it maybe you were working in the banking sector or you interned in the banking sector and you saw the difficulties that a lot of cash limited individuals have in securing microloans. That prompted you. So add in a storytelling element that showcases people what you care about and what drives you, right? So it's really about figuring out your mission statement. And this can be applicable to a lot of things. So if you want to go into consulting, what drew you to consulting? What brought you in? What really do you want to solve by becoming consultant? What are problems that really speak to you? So you should be talking about that, you should be posting about that, interacting with all of that stuff. Now, the a very important point here, so for a lot of people, as they're asking, okay, what do I post, how do I post, how often do I post, just be authentic and be truthful. So you don't need to, for example, reshare everything, and you don't need to be commenting on everything. You need to really curate a feed that helps people understand what matters to you. So you should be aiming to add value. And how do you add value? So that means if you understand what is your particular field and you are following certain relevant influencers, you LinkedIn influencers. By LinkedIn influencers, you're normally going to have thought leaders, you're going to have industry CEOs, you're going to have change makers. A lot of people do utilize LinkedIn as a primarily utilize LinkedIn to share their ideas to build a form of community. So find that, understand which people are relevant to you, and that's the content you can repost. And that is the kind of content you can also aim to replicate and post on your own. So, for example, you don't need to be posting every day, but just try and go for the fact that if I'm posting something, is it genuinely useful, or am I just copy pasting and putting out content of which 100 different variations already exist? So just put your own spin on it. Make sure it's something that actually brings value to someone who's reading it, and that you're the one how you're communicating it. So an important part of this is going to be knowing your audience, right? Depends on how you use LinkedIn. Again, if you, for example, be a community leader, then you're going to have to first identify what kind of community do you want to go for. Maybe if you're in the energy industry, or if you're in the fintech industry, find people, network with them, connect with the relevant leaders and other professionals in that network. Then try to understand what kind of content stands out in that industry, and frame whatever you're posting according to that as well. So, for example, if we're talking about start share the latest ideas in that particular field. So if you're maybe in healthcare management, or you could be in social work, so follow people who are already leading change in those areas, and you'll understand what kind of content drives impact in those areas. And that's how you can start formulating your own content as well, by having a very good understanding of what your key audience is. So couple of tips for that, as a couple of you have of active users during the weekend and during the
Fatima,
weekdays as well.
sorry to cut
Yes.
you off. There's a bit of a lag from your side. You can turn off your camera because आपकी आवाज बीच में ना थोड़ी सी कट जाती है. Yeah, you can unmute yourself and then keep the camera off.
Okay. Just let me know if it's better now.
Okay. It's fine. जब आप बोल रहे होते हो ना तो
Okay.
एकदम से
So to
it
start
just
with
gets
that again,
distorted बीच में.
the post Fridays are a good time, but even better is Tuesday to Thursday. A lot of people will not be active during Mondays to Fridays. These are all metrics you can get on the post analytics, by the way. Every time you post, you can always go into the options for that post and check your analytics and impressions. That is where you'll be able to see that what are the times that people were most active, when did they comment most, when did you get more likes and reposts. This is available on your personal profile as well. You can go check profile analytics, and you get posting analytics for each independent post that you put up. Another thing with your posts, do add in visual imagery. Don't put purely text posts. It's a very well known thing that any post without any kind of visual is mostly going to get ignored. So add in images, add in videos, go for carousel posts. Those always perform way better. Try to add in hashtags and keywords. Again, keyword searches, you'll have to go through and understand which ones are going to help push your post to the top, which ones are going to help it get more visibility. Do add those in without making it sound too jargony. You want to utilize those carefully and add in a couple of hashtags. And then again, the analytics section is really powerful. One of the insights it gives you is dwell time. What is dwell time? Dwell time is essentially the amount of time that someone is going to spend looking at your post. And this is generally going to be between 2 to 5 seconds for an engaging post. If your dwell time is below that, you can understand easily that you're not catching people's attention. So just keep posting, keep practicing, and you see it go up as you better understand how to align your content with what does well with your identified audience. Again, you're not going to be able to reach necessarily a very diverse audience. An easier way is to always understand and figure out your niche and then start curating your content for that particular niche. 1 to 2 hours right after you've made a post are crucial for engaging with that post. So when people are commenting or liking, ensure that you're replying to their comments, you're engaging discussions in those comments, as that helps keep your post more active. And again, maintain consistency. You do not have to be posting every day. With your post as well, go towards quality. You don't need to be focusing too much on making sure you're posting or commenting about every single particular issue that comes up. Just figure out what is relevant to you, what you actually have an informed opinion about, and then build your brand around that. So you can go, a good amount would be twice a week. But again, really understand what does well. But twice a week, especially if you're looking to really build an interactive and online profile or become a LinkedIn influencer, that would be the minimum. However, if you plan on using this mostly as a recruiting tool, you don't need to be posting too much. You just need to keep your profile updated and activate. So what that means is every time you have worked on something interesting, every time you've done a project, every time you've achieved something, just make sure you put up a post about that. You don't necessarily need to be posting every day. Depends on how you really want to use it. LinkedIn is a tool. Understand what you want to use it for, and that's how it can help you. So, lastly, the most important aspect of using LinkedIn is networking. So, by your network, it means the number of people that you have connected with. Again, there is no right amount of connections, as one person here has asked what is too little and what is too many. It's not defined, but I would generally recommend you do use this to build up your network and connect with as many people as you can. But don't go towards being a spammer. There's a way to do this. So you want to obviously connect with your university community, connect with your peers, connect with your alumni, but go beyond that. The real use this offers you is to connect with professionals. And there's a way to do that. If, for example, you want to talk to someone who is leading a tech company that you're really interested in, or maybe you're interested in an investment analyst role at a particular firm, and you want to ask someone about what that role is like or what the company culture is like, or you want to talk to someone who you see is a well established professional in the career that you're interested in pursuing, that's the real value of LinkedIn. You can simply reach out, ask to connect, and even set up an interview with that person. So, the way to do that is to put a little thought and effort again into how you're approaching them. I'd always recommend personalizing your requests. And very simple to do, you have 100 letters to do that. Simply give a short introduction, explain why you want to connect with that person. You can say that I saw your recent post about this, or I see that you're working in this industry, and as an aspiring, for example, investment analyst, I'd really like to connect and learn. So just put some thought into it, put effort. If there will be 500 people wanting to connect with that same person, just focus on how can you best structure your personalized connection to be able to stand out. It shouldn't just be, hey, I want to connect to grow my network, or hey, it would be nice to connect. Just go to their profile, take a look at what they do, and make it a bit personalized. Show that you've taken the time to understand that person and why you want to connect with them. That's the real advantage. Again, engaging with intent. What you want to do, what I would really recommend all of you to put some time into again, is finding out leaders in your particular industry who are posting on LinkedIn. So do follow a wide variety of people, because there are some very good ideas and conversations. So for example, if you're someone who is working in social media marketing, you don't need to only follow people who are working in that particular stream. You can follow people from a lot of other industries, because their ideas, maybe a particular experience someone shared, could help or give you an idea for your particular work, which you can then better utilize. So follow a wide variety of people. and understand which ones are really posting valuable content, and then go and use those to engage in conversation. So one of the things you can really do is, if you're interested in a post or if it's something that is relevant to you. So for example, if someone's talking about a banking app that they're releasing and you want to work in that, or that is something you're interested in and you have questions, ask those in the comments, interact with people in the comments. A lot of people will have put up questions, so all of that also allows you to again really make meaningful connections. Relevant groups. So LinkedIn has a lot of different discussion forums and professional groups that you can join. Those will also be available in the network section. You can join these based on industry. You can join these based on your alumni groups. You can even join hobby and interest groups. Join those. A lot of discussions will be going on there. There are even learning forums where people are going to be conducting workshops. They're going to be conducting seminars online, and you can really get to learn a lot and get to know a lot of leading professionals by being active here. And lastly, promote relevant content. Again, if you first understand what kind of perception you want to build, number two, how do you want people to perceive you? And what is your target audience? Once you understand that, you can also start reposting and sharing content that you know people in your network will find useful. So that is the kind of stuff that you can repost and share as well. So that wraps up the presentation. We had 1 hour for that, and now we can use the remaining 30 minutes for questions. Sure. So when it comes to Nurul, Huda has asked, how do recruiters and industry professionals use LinkedIn and why is it relevant to you? So most job posting these days are sometimes either directly only posted on LinkedIn, or they are posted on LinkedIn as well as that particular company's profile. So when you go to LinkedIn, there is a job section. That is where you should go and firstly filter out the roles that you're interested in and turn on notifications to be notified about whenever those particular roles are opened. One of the advantages of having a completed LinkedIn profile is that you can always use LinkedIn Easy Apply while applying to a role posted on LinkedIn. And that helps every time you apply using that, a summary of your profile is given to the recruiters, and recruiters do heavily utilize LinkedIn. Recently, there's been a survey, and about 70% of job hirings have been done directly through LinkedIn. So, recruiters will oftentimes also be building a talent bank. A talent bank is where recruiters will be using LinkedIn to shortlist profiles that they know can be useful candidates in the future. And sometimes they will be reaching out to you themselves if there are particular roles that line up with your experience, and other times they will have you shortlisted. So if you've built a complete profile and you are also being active, you will come into the notice of recruiters, and this will be super helpful for when you go job hunting. You will be able to be very competitive. How do industry professionals use it? Again, industry professionals use it to set up their own personal identity and build their network. So, as an industry professional, you use it to showcase your work experiences. You use it to connect with other people who are relevant in the industry. So, for example, if I'm working as a project engineer, I will make it a point to connect with other people who are working in oil and gas, who are working in energy, who are working in renewables, because I want to be able to learn with them. Another thing that it's super useful for is building um, another pool for yourself, right? So if you know someone who is working in a company that you're interested in, you can get to know a lot more about that company. You can get to know about that particular role. You can even connect with people if, for example, I am working on a project and I realize that I have a connection or I know someone is working on something similar, I can always reach out to them and take some learnings from them. So, industry professionals will normally use it as a way to expand their own professional networking pool and also use it as a tool to be able to get to learn more about their own industry. What are the latest trends that are going on? What are the latest technical advancements that have been made? And also generally to be able to keep their own profile at high visibility as well within the industry. What's most necessary for HR graduates? So again, it's not limited to HR graduates. It's for any graduate. You want to have a complete profile so that once you start applying to jobs, you are able to present all of your achievements, all of your experiences, and there anyone who's going to take a look at your LinkedIn is able to see your entire history, what kind of skill set do you have, and what kind of value will you be able to bring. So as an HR graduate, I'd say again, put in all of the experiences you've had during your study period. That can be volunteer, that can be internship work, that can be social work. And since it's a very human centric field that you're talking about, maybe highlight the more social aspects of your personality that make you a good fit in particular for HR. But again, this is generic advice that can be applied to any field that you're going for. Ensure your profile is complete, ensure you've put in all your relevant experiences, and that you are able to also showcase your personality through your profile.
I think this will be it. Thank you everyone for joining the session. We have one more question, Fatma.
Premium update. Okay, so the premium update does allow you to access a lot more features. For example, you are able to see who's been viewing your profile. You're able to get better networking suggestions. You also get in-mail. So in-mail, normally in a free profile, you're only allowed to send personalized requests to up to 6 people, but with premium, that gives you an unlimited amounts of in-mails you can have. So again, depending on how invested you are, premium can definitely pay off, especially I would say if you're just graduating and you're actively looking for roles, premium is worth it. It allows you to do job hunting much better because they'll also give you a lot of recommendations on how LinkedIn will give you a lot of recommendations on how to make your profile stronger. You'll get access to LinkedIn Learning. So depends. If I would say you have been job hunting for a bit and you haven't been able to really break through with your profile, go ahead and invest in it. It's worth it. I do a lot of social. Okay, Asif is asking, I do a lot of social welfare and offshore NGOs and flood. Can I also post them? Of course you can. So as I said, it doesn't just have to be purely career work. LinkedIn particularly has a section at the bottom called volunteer work where you can highlight all of this stuff, and you should even be building in the social work experiences into your professional summary, because this is a part of who you are presenting yourself as an individual. You want to showcase that you have an intrinsic socially conscientious side. Go ahead and put that out there. It's a good thing to show. If I want to connect to recruiters, will I do that by simply searching on search bars? Okay, so you will not, for example, go into the search bar and just search up recruiters. What you have to do is go to a company page. So, for example, if you're applying to, let's say, Unilever, go to Unilever's page, go to the people section that they have on the company page, and over there in the search bar you can input words like recruiter and HR, and it will show you people who are working in that particular company with that particular role, and then connect with them. Again, one tip I would give to anyone who is job seeking: recruiters are inundated with requests. So everyone wants to approach HR, right? So they will be having tons of requests. It's very difficult to make yourself stand out simply due to sheer volume. A better approach is to actually go for hiring managers. So you can go take a look at who is working in the role or leading departments that you want to apply to, right? So if you want to go into marketing, go take a look at who is the marketing head for